Chapter 15. I just don't think it's a good idea, Avery, Allison blurted as she hastily restocked her cleaning tote. Why? Avery whined from her bedroom. Do I really need to explain this to you? Because if I do, you're going to need to wait until after I'm done working. Dropping a few more scour pads and a bottle of extra strength Grease King into her tote, Allison headed for the door. Mom, please let me visit Marnie. Now waddling down the hall in some white sweats and one of Richard's old gray t-shirts, Avery was headed for the refrigerator. I have to get out of here. I need a change of scenery for a couple weeks. It's so stuffy in this apartment. And we might as well not even have a cooler. I swear that thing's older than you. Thanks. And I don't know what the neighbors are always cooking over there, but it smells like dirty socks and vinegar. Seriously, living here anymore is a nightmare. The shower hardly has any pressure, and the people upstairs are always playing that obnoxious music, and... Avery, I really don't know what to tell you. I'm a little busy right now. Sliding some white-rimmed sunglasses onto her nose, Allison picked up her tote and opened the door. I have a new client and I'm late. This discussion is going to have to wait. Tell me you'll let me get my sanity back, Avery persisted, drinking a glass of chocolate milk. Mom, please. Marnie said her parents would fly me out there and everything. They have a nice big air-conditioned house away from the city and a pool and... Avery, Allison insisted, standing halfway out the door. I'm sorry your friend moved, okay? I really am. But you're 7 months along. I'm not going to let you go prancing across the Republic at this stage in your pregnancy. It just isn't responsible. According to who? A doctor would tell you that. Oh, but you wouldn't know that, would you? Seeing as you refused to go. Avery looked away from her mother's piercing gaze and focused on a picture of her and her father that hung crooked on the wall. You know how I feel about that, Mom. They told us to kill my baby. Did you forget? I'm never going back there again. Never. Besides, we couldn't afford to go to the doctor if we wanted to. Avery, I tried to find another doctor's office and you refused that too. Yeah, it's a little pricey without insurance. Well, a lot pricey. But what's a few doctor's visits compared to paying for cancer treatments? Slumping down onto the couch, Avery placed her glass of chocolate milk on the coffee table. Well, I'm sorry I've been such a financial burden to you. Avery, all I'm saying is there is no reason why you shouldn't be doing all you can for that baby. That child will become your life. With tears welling up in her eyes, Avery turned to face her mother again. You might have forgotten, but I didn't choose this for myself, remember? I never wanted this to become my life. Whatever happened to someone choosing their own life, huh? Removing her sunglasses, Allison spoke firmly. Regardless of the unusual circumstances, Avery, bearing a child is no curse. It's an honor. How would you know, Mom? You've never been pregnant. Allison was deeply hurt by Avery's cutting remark. I would have done anything to have a child, Avery. Is that so? Avery glared, with tears now streaming down her face. She struggled to her feet and padded down the hall to her room. Well, I'm sorry you had to settle for me. As Avery slammed the door behind her, Allison locked their front door and placed the cleaning tote into the passenger seat of their sedan. Walking briskly around the back of the vehicle, she opened the driver's side door and stepped in. Placing her hands on the warm steering wheel, she gazed intently through the windshield at the decaying fence in front of her. Life was hard. It had always been hard, but the future seemed unbearable. What are we going to do when she loses that baby? Avery had been trying to get to sleep for over an hour. It seemed like every time she was ready for bed, the child in her womb was ready to play. "You sure are a feisty little thing, aren't you?" Avery smiled as she placed her hand on her belly. "Are you dancing in there?" She couldn't help but laugh. "Well, at least one of us likes the neighbor's music." Avery reached for the remote. "I have an idea. Since you aren't going to let Mommy sleep, what do you say we see what's on television tonight?" She began flipping through the channels. "Ah, this looks good. Maybe I can get you to fall asleep watching Tom Barry." So our first guest tonight hardly needs an intro. Would everyone please welcome international icon Darius Viergo. First of all, we want to truly thank you for coming onto the show tonight. Stop it. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me. Now, to be clear, this is your first television interview. Is that right? Precisely. I'm finally beginning to overcome my stage fright. And just look, I'm making my debut on the Tom Barry Show, no less. How's that for striking oil? We wanted to give you the warmest welcome showbiz has to offer. What can I say? Seriously though, how long have you been on the air now? You're hitting the big 2-0 this year, right? I'd say that deserves a round of applause. Let's give it up, everybody, for Mr. Tom Barry and 20 strong years on the best late show in the Republic. Come on now, you're making me blush. Tell you what, I'll let you buy me a steak after the show. That way, I not only get to have the pleasure of interviewing the most intriguing man in the world, but I get to dine with him too. I don't know about the most intriguing. People say you have a gift. How do you respond to that? I don't know if I would classify it as a gift, per se. Do you have any idea how many emails I get? How many letters through the post I receive? Not only that, but consider this. As a celebrity, when you encounter the public, what do they typically want? That's easy. An autograph and a picture. Exactly. For me, it's much more complicated than that. I should think that a gift would make my life easier. A person only has to take one look at me to know that my life has been anything but easy. Indeed. But don't get me wrong, I accept my experiences for what they are. And it's pointless to wish the past away, no matter how unpleasant it may be. In some ways, our pending future's most valuable asset is the unfortunate past. We should never be afraid to make mistakes. How else are we supposed to learn? But that's the fascinating thing about you. You don't make mistakes. Everything you've ever said would happen has happened. I wish that were true, Tom. As a matter of fact, before flying out here yesterday, I told my wife that you would have dyed your hair bright blue before the show. Don't make me nervous. Now I really wish I had a mirror on me just to double check. Hey everybody, what color is my hair? Terrific, now we've got the whole audience playing along. Just send me your stylist bill. I've got you covered. Now help me understand something here. Over the last 50 years, you've been able to predict the annihilation of 2 major cities, the most catastrophic monsoon in recorded history, multiple earthquakes, a massive volcanic eruption in one of our polar ice caps, and yet you're able to sit and crack jokes with me on national television. How do you maintain a sense of humor amidst all the chaos? In general, people have a strong tendency to take themselves very seriously. I did too for a while. But I'd like to think that deep down it's been a well-developed sense of humor that's kept the human race going all these years. Just imagine where you'd be without yours. Indeed. How old were you when you began to discover your uncanny ability to predict future events? About 6 years old. I understand that there have been a slew of neurological tests performed to discover a potential reason for your unique capacities. Are you wired, so to speak, differently than the rest of us? Absolutely not. There is absolutely nothing different about the way my brain works than anyone else. You've no doubt wondered why this has happened to you. Have you been able to make any sense of it all? Nothing is completely clear to me. The conscious experience is altogether very ambiguous, in my opinion, but there are some notions that I simply can't ignore. I feel that existence, or that is to say, what we know of it, is an extremely small portion of reality. With all the collective knowledge humanity has accumulated, with all of our technology, our medical advancements, satellites, microchips, etc., we're really still in the same predicament that we've always been in. And what's that? We still suffer. We still have to die. No prescription can cure that. No computer program can override it. Indeed. Well said. And what of this unprecedented supernova that is alleged to appear within the coming days? And what did you say it would be again? What day? Well, depending on where you are relative to the international dateline, it would be on the summer solstice or the day after. Now, this event seems, at least to me, somewhat different than others you've predicted. I mean, the rest were taking place on our planet. Things that you've spoken of would directly impact people's lives. But a supernova? That's an interesting point, Tom, but I think the supernova will prove to be very much a symbol of sorts. Of what? I believe it will mark the beginning of a new era for humanity. What do you feel the next big challenge for the human race will be? To believe? In what? Something other than ourselves. Pressing the power button on the remote control, Avery gazed at her swollen abdomen. Something other than myself, huh? Is that what you're trying to teach me? She felt another powerful kick. Ah, I see. Well, you know what? I think you're all right. The obnoxious music from upstairs had finally stopped, and the young mother-to-be could almost feel their two hearts beating in harmony. You're going to have to be patient with me, though. She tried to hold back the tears. Because I have no idea what I'm doing. Another series of kicks came. You're a boy, aren't you, Amen? There was a prolonged silence. Then a light nudge. Avery wiped a tear from the corner of her mouth and smiled. I've always known. I don't know how, but I've known. Somehow I feel like you've told me. Through her window, Avery could see a young mother in the neighboring apartment building holding her toddler child. She'd witnessed many times before the mother's frustration as she yelled and sometimes spanked the boy. Now cradling him in her arms, the mother wept. Already feeling quite emotional herself, Avery cried as well and looked on as the mother and her child now laughed and wrestled on the bed. There was good in the world. It was always there. Beckoning, yearning to break through. Surrender was the only requirement. Avery. Allison spoke softly as she cautiously entered the room. Avery, I need to apologize. Avery continued to gaze through her window, silently grateful her mother had come to talk. No, Mom. I'm sorry for being so emotional lately. Allison walked over and embraced her daughter, stroking her long black hair. I've been doing a lot of thinking tonight, and I've decided I've been too hard on you. Picking up a black picture frame from Avery's nightstand, Allison placed it on the bed within Avery's view. Why did you have this face down? Delicately running her fingers across the glass, Avery flipped it over again. It's all still too fresh, Mom. I just can't believe he's gone. You had so many good memories with Eric, though. Don't you think you should focus on those? I've always loved this picture of you two in the entryway on prom night. I do focus on them, Mom, but that's the problem. That's what hurts. I wish they were more than memories. I think you'll find that in time, those memories will comfort rather than torture you. I hope so. It was different with Dad for some reason. I missed him so much, and I still do, but it was a different kind of pain. Well, Allison sighed, it was a different kind of affection. Placing her hands on Avery's shoulders, she smiled and just gazed into her daughter's eyes for a moment. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but Kendra was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and you look just like her. Embracing her mother, Avery began to cry. Oh, Mom, you shouldn't tell a girl things like that, because then she'll start to believe it. But it's true, if you say so. And I have some news for you. You're pregnant? Funny. Sorry, couldn't help it. I know. But I'll have you know I just got off the phone with Marnie's father and... Mom! Avery sat up and gasped. And you leave in 2 days. Are you sure, Mom? Don't talk me out of it, right? They wanted you for longer, but I would only let you out of my sight for a week. I must be crazy. Thanks so much, Mom. Wow. Doesn't the world just seem so beautiful right now? I think this pregnancy is making us both a little loopy, sweetheart. Let's have some ice cream. Deal.